فقال جبرائيل: يا ربي، أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله: نعم، قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام، ويقول لك: وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذنوا لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله: وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله، إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء. فقال لأبي: إن الله عز وجل قد أوحى إليكم ويقول: إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي: يا رسول الله، أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله: والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا نزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذن والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي: رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله: يا علي، والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموم إلا فرج الله همه، ولا مغموم إلا كشف الله غمه، ولا طالب حاجة إلا قضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذن والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا وسعدنا، وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. हाल गम सुनाएंगे جب امام آئیں گے، زخم دل دکھائیں گے، جب امام آئیں گے، محفلیں جمائیں گے، جب امام آئیں گے، بامدر سجائیں گے، جب امام آئیں گے، جشن ہم منائیں گے، جشن ہم منائیں گے، جب امام آئیں گے، جشن ہم منائیں گے، جب امام آئیں گے۔ زخم ہے ابھی تازہ مکہ اور مدینہ کے، شام کوفہ کرب و بلا ہم بھلا نہیں سکتے، از سقیفہ طائی دم غیر سے نہیں پہنچے، جتنے دکھ اٹھائے ہیں ہم نے کلمہ گویوں سے، ایک ایک چکائیں گے، ایک ایک چکائیں گے، جب امام آئیں گے، ایک ایک چکائیں گے، جب امام آئیں گے۔ شک ہے جن کو اللہ کے عدل اور عدالت پر، منصب نبوت پر، سیدہ کی عصمت پر، مرتضیٰ کی احمد سے مستقل نیابت پر، جن کو شک ہے بارہ پر، بارویں کی غیبت پر، سب ہی مار کھائیں گے، سب ہی مار کھائیں گے، جب امام آئیں گے، سب ہی مار کھائیں گے، جب امام۔ جھوٹ بولنے کو ہم مشغلہ سمجھتے ہیں، بات بات پر بے جا مصلحت برتتے ہیں، اور منافقت کو بھی مصلحت ہی کہتے ہیں، لے و لاب کا سامان ہم گھروں میں رکھتے ہیں، کس طرح چھپائیں گے، کس طرح چھپائیں گے، جب امام آئیں گے، کس طرح چھپائیں گے، جب امام آئیں گے۔ نعمت شریعت کو بوجھ ہی سمجھتے ہیں، لو و لاب ہی کو ہم زندگی سمجھتے ہیں، صاحبان زر کو بڑا آدمی سمجھتے ہیں، تنگ دست مومن کو بس یوں ہی سمجھتے ہیں، کیا مقام پائیں گے، کیا مقام پائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے، کیا مقام پائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے۔ یہ ہمارے مکر اور ریا شاطرانہ عیاری، کیا ہمارے صوم و صلات اور یہ عزاداری، کتنا ہے خلوص ان میں کس قدر ریاکاری، کیا امام کی خاطر ہم نے کی ہے تیاری، کیسے منہ دکھائیں گے، کیسے منہ دکھائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے، کیسے منہ دکھائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے۔ الاجل جو کہتے ہیں آ گئے تو کیا ہوگا، کیا ہے اپنی تیاری پیش ہم کریں گے کیا، سبت جعفر اپنا تو کل یہی ہے سرمایہ، حمد و نعت و سوز و سلام اور منقبت نوحہ ہم یہی سنائیں گے، ہم یہی سنائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے، ہم یہی سنائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے۔ بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات۔ Let us all recite 5 times Amma Yujibu for all of those in need of du'as. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء، 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 أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء۔ اللهم صل على. I would now like to invite Haj Jalal to the podium. اور محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. والحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, we ask Allah to again send His greatest peace and blessings upon Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. We praise Allah for all the blessings He has given us, and the greatest blessing being that He allowed us to be of the ones who remain steadfast, dedicated, and loyal on the path of our Master after the Prophet, the commander of the faithful, the prince of the believers, the protector of the Prophet and his message, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. We praise Allah for this blessing and every blessing, for without Allah we would have nothing. Assalamu alaikum, my dear respected elders, my dear respected brothers, my dear respected sisters, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Firstly, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me the opportunity to serve with you all in the remembrance of the master of our time, Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajuhu al-Sharif, on the auspicious occasion of his birth. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, when we ask the question, when was Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajuhu al-Sharif, born? We all know the answer, right? When was the Imam born? Not rhetorical. Quick question, make sure that we're all here on our toes. When was Imam Mahdi born? What day of what month? 15th of Shaban, mashallah. Now, how old is Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajuhu al-Sharif, today? How old? MashaAllah, 1,191 years old. Our Imam is 1,191 years old today. Now, when we look and we see the existence of our Imam, the presence of our Imam, we need to be reminded that 1,000 years have passed, and almost 200 on top of that. The Imam continues to be alive today and is benefiting the world just like the sun benefits the earth. And you and I, our belief in the Imam is stronger now than ever. The Shia Muslim community, the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, have no doubt in their hearts that the Imam is alive and well, present with us today. He is, as Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam tell us, the sun behind the clouds. The Imam is not removed from us. When we pray for the hastening of the return of the Imam alayhi salam, we're not speaking of a man that was removed from the earth, taken from us, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will return him to the world. We're speaking of a man that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to bless humanity with, but for his protection. And until a time that is only known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his identity is concealed. The identity of the Imam was concealed at his birth. Nobody knew that the Imam was born except those that were close to Ahlul Bayt. And when the Imam revealed himself so that he may pray over the body of his father, Imam al-Hasan al-Askari alayhi salam, at the age of 6, he then again would conceal his identity, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would protect him from the hands of those who wish to take the life of the Imam. And al-Ghayb al-Sughra would take place, the minor occultation. And then after the 4 ambassadors, the 4 sufara of the Imam, the companions of his father, his direct representatives, after the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd, and the 4th, a period of about 60 years, after they would pass away, the Imam would make it known. His identity would continue to be concealed, and now into a greater era, the greater occultation, al-Ghayb al-Kubra, which you and I are still living in today. Tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, in celebrating 1,191 years of our beloved Imam's life, and I say this from this podium, I say this from this place, with you all present here today, and I ask our Imam, who hears us, who sees us, who is with us, I ask him, Imam, accept the little that we offer in your remembrance in bringing us closer in your name, Ya Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us Not with the presence of our Imam, because we know the Imam is amongst us. The Imam blesses this world. But we ask him, Ya Allah, allow us to see our Imam. It's funny because in the winter months, in the Northeast, in the Midwest, us coming from Michigan, it's usually cloudy, right? Pretty cloudy. Today actually was pretty nice in the area. We saw the sun a little bit today. How refreshing was it to see the sun, right? Especially in such times, especially with the cold, right? But did any of us ever doubt that the sun was there behind the clouds, even in the coldest months? No. You and I, my dear brothers and sisters, as we come here together and we have the opportunity to connect ourselves further with the Imam alayhi salam, we have a question to ask ourselves. In this time of al-ghayba, in this time of al-intidar, this time of occultation, in this time of waiting, how do we wait? Who here is interested in learning? How do we wait for the Imam? Sisters, nobody's interested? One sister's interested, two sisters are interested. Brothers, anybody interested in learning how do we wait for the Imam? MashaAllah. For those who didn't raise your hands, I'm going to think that you're especially interested, but you're keeping it deep inside. Okay? For the love of Sahab al-Asr wa Zaman, a loud salawat. This is a happy occasion. We're celebrating the birth of our Imam. Can I get a better salawat? The young brother right there, I didn't hear his salawat. Can I get his salawat? All together, let's support him. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi. My dear brothers and sisters, let me be a little blunt. Wherever we are, you could be in a masjid, you can be in a church, you could be at a Husayniyah, Imam Bara, you can be in a person's home. The love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam enlivens us wherever we are. With one of the mission trips and the charity work of the Mainstay Foundation, I was just recently in India, in Lucknow. Anybody been to India? MashaAllah, beautiful. I was visiting Lucknow first. And I had one of the best experiences. It was a very short trip, however. I had an excellent experience. What I saw there, as someone who's not from the subcontinent, as somebody who has no roots in that area, I felt like I was home. Let me tell you why. I saw the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam alive and well, and young and old. I saw the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam expressed in all facets of life. I saw the expression of Ya Ali, Ya Zahra, Ya Mahdi. I saw it, I felt it, it was there. So you and I, when we have the opportunity to express ourselves in safety, we have the opportunity to express ourselves in a safe space, we have the opportunity to be who we are, and that is followers and lovers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, then we need to do so and encourage the young ones here to be proud of their identity, so that when we say Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, we say it with the loudest of our voices, salawat. Take advantage of the safe spaces that we have. Take advantage of the platforms that we have for one another to reinforce our identity as lovers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. You and I have an opportunity here in the United States of America. You and I have an opportunity in Pennsylvania now. Our opportunity is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with wise and sacrificing parents or grandparents, or perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the inspiration to come to this place so that you can protect your religion, protect your faith, protect the youth, protect your community. The identity as a lover of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam is not one that can be freely expressed wherever you are in the world. And those who have the ability to express it should not take it for granted, and should invest further in this theme, because we're going to get deeper into it, this theme and this idea of waiting for Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. What do you and I do as we're waiting for the Imam? Who here wants to learn about how to wait for the Imam? There's another opportunity. Yes, more hands. Excellent. God bless you. In waiting for the Imam, not passive. It's not an accident. It's not something you do after work. It's not something you do after the 9 to 5. It's not something that we do on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. It's something that we do in every ounce of our existence. Sometimes we forget. Let's be honest. Sometimes we forget. Not just about waiting for the Imam. Not just about our relationship with the Imam. Sometimes we forget about our role and our responsibility towards our families, towards our children, towards our spouses, towards our parents, towards our community, towards ourselves. Sometimes we forget. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands. We've all been in a position of forgetting about those who matter most. Your children, your family, your community, your own self. Sometimes we're so busy working and doing things for others, we forget about our own selves. You know what the connection with that is? Forgetting about yourself. And this is something that we need to dig deep into our spirituality and our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because anytime you see that you are becoming forgetful of yourself, neglecting yourself, I'm not talking about the treat yourself culture. I'm talking about you taking care of you, the real you. لا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله. Don't be like those who forgot Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so then He made them forget themselves. The connection of the human being to themselves, their truest self, is through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam tell us as taught to him by Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? What does he say? Man arafa nafsah. Who knows himself, who knows herself, knows their Lord. You, my dear brothers and sisters, yes, in the theme and the principle, in the reflection of waiting for Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, there is a sanctity to yourself that you need to realize. Because until the human being realizes how sacred they are, they will not connect themselves to the ship of salvation that is Imam al-Mahdi, ajalallahu ta'ala farajhu sharif, he's ready. He is ready. And until the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordains for him, the occultation will continue. Now some people may say, the Imam will not appear until you are ready. Some scholars discuss this. Other scholars may say, the contingency of the Imam reappearing is not upon people. It is a time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that I was discussing with my mentor. A reflection. This isn't, by the way, showing you this is definitive scholarship. Just a mere reflection. For you and I to just think about. In this idea of waiting, the Imam is not contingent upon you. The Imam always is the Imam. Regardless of what's happening on earth, the sun continues to be the sun and continues to give. Now the clouds exist, the clouds are there. The Imam is going to bring forth an era of justice, truth, equality, and peace for all. How will you be in relation to that era? Will you be a part of it or not? Let me say it in another way. The dhuhur of the Imam is truth, and it will come. The waiting that you and I have and experience is completely on you and I in defining what our relationship will be with the Imam. Just like you and I know al-hayat haqq, life is truth, it's real. Al-maut haqq, death is also truth and real. when we think about Imam al-Mahdi, we're often thinking about, yes, how do we prepare for the reappearance of the Imam? When the Imam is going to bring forth, unveil his identity to the world. Beautiful, it's excellent. But how many of us are prepared for death? How many of us are prepared for the reality of Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un? We belong to Allah and to Him we return. Because if you and I are prepared for Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un, we are prepared for the reality of death, then we'll be prepared for the Imam. They go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. What are you and I doing as a lifestyle? Because waiting for the Imam is not something that is done on the side. It's not a side hustle. It's not part of the gig economy. Waiting for the Imam is a lifestyle. It's a commitment. You want to be the best mother. You want to be the best father. You want to be the best husband. You want to be the best wife. You want to be the best son, the best daughter. Notice, by the way, I'm going through relationships first before I get into professions and careers. Because those are good, those are important. But you're not defined by your career. And I say this to you as a practicing attorney. I say this to you as a law professor. I say this to you as someone who was encouraged by their parents. Someone who acknowledges the sacrifices of my parents and my grandparents. Because I started earlier saying, God bless the parents and the grandparents and those here in the audience who had the inspiration to come to this country so that they can provide a better life for themselves and their children. Based in what? Their ability to practice their faith. When my grandparents came to this country, I asked my grandmother a few years ago, into my adulthood, I asked my grandmother, I said, Grandmother, why did my grandfather choose, we live in Michigan, why did he choose Michigan instead of anywhere else? And by the way, it was during the winter, it was snowing, and it was really cold, and I was like, not in a good mood. I was like, out of all places in America, we had to choose the coldest place, Michigan, where we get like a foot of snow, and it's just, you still go to work, right? This is before COVID, by the way, before everyone got used to the idea of, okay, you can work remotely, right? So I asked my grandmother, why choose Michigan, one of the coldest places in America? She said, you know, he was choosing between Michigan and somewhere else. And I'm thinking, oh, was he choosing between Michigan and California? Was he choosing between Michigan and Florida? Was he choosing between Michigan and Arizona? Somewhere warm? Oh, it was close, wasn't it? She's like, no, it was Michigan and New York. And I was like, oh, still cold. So, okay, well, why? Why not? Why not the Big Apple? Why not New York? She said, your grandfather, I want you to listen closely to this. She said, your grandfather, well, he wasn't the most religious man. It was important for him in that move away from our home of Lebanon. My grandparents left Lebanon during the Civil War in 1977. My grandmother, she wouldn't describe this. It would be described to me about her. She was a hero, taking 4 children under her arm, running in the streets of Beirut, escaping gunfire, rocket launches, overhead. She was a hero. But she would be in praise of my grandfather and his choice. And listen to the choice. The choice was Michigan over New York. Why? At that time, at least, there was an Islamic center, a mosque, a masjid being built, and a community being built around it. There was a sheikh. There was an imam, a leader, a religious leader, Sheikh Jawad Shirri, rahmatullahi alayhi, that was leading this community. And he heard of this mosque. He heard of this sheikh, he heard of this leader, and he heard of this community, and he felt that if he's gonna make a move across the Atlantic Ocean, that he would have at least protection and preservation of the identity of his children in their faith. So he chose Michigan. I want to show you how that comes full circle today. A decision that was made decades before. Today, my children, my grandfather's great-grandchildren, go to the Islamic school of the Islamic Center. He moved to that community in Michigan for. God bless our grandparents. God bless our parents. God bless the elders amongst us who had the inspiration to choose faith over everything else. You and I cannot take those decisions for granted. We stand on the shoulders of giants. We don't say that because it sounds nice. We say that because we realize that you and I, where we've come as a community, in waiting for Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif, does not come out of thin air. 1,191 years. How can you and I understand our obligation in this period of time? Understand the past 1,000 years of the Imam without understanding the past 90 years. Forget the past 90 years. The past 50 years. Forget the past 50 years. The past 20 years. We have to understand our history. So in waiting for Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, you know how we wait? We wait by committing ourselves to each other. We wait by giving our elders a salute that they deserve. We wait by honoring our mothers, our grandmothers, our fathers, our grandfathers, understanding their story, understanding the trials and tribulations that they went through. Ask your parents. Ask your grandparents, ask your uncles, ask your siblings, ask each other, what did you go through to get to where you are today? We wait by looking to our right and looking to our left and seeing that the person sitting next to me is my strength. The person to my right, the person to my left, that is my strength. If I'm not thinking about the people amongst me, then forget about waiting. Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman is what? The mercy to mankind, the extension of his great-grandfather Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. How can you and I wait for a man and claim to be waiting for him when we don't do an ounce of expressing that mercy and love that he came for? What is Imam al-Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif doing on this world? Is he not the proof of God? Is he not the promise of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi? Is he not the one that Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam himself in the court of Yazid would tell the people that from us is the Prophet, from us is the Wasi, from us are the princes of heaven, and from us is the Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala. From the Prophet to every single one of our Imams, the promise of that guidance and mercy to mankind. That is an Imam al-Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif. It's clear. Now you and I, we're asking ourselves, how do we wait? Asking ourselves, how do we wait, is like asking ourselves, how do we live? And I'm not being rhetorical here, being literal. Waiting, as described by Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam and in other narrations from our other Imams, al-intidhar, waiting for al-faraj, is the greatest act of worship. Now you and I, the greatest act of worship, what do we do? Oh, I'll tell you what we do. You need to look yourself in the mirror. I need to look myself in the mirror and say, Jalal, what are you doing today to bring forth the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given you, showered you with, blessed you with, and make yourself a better man, and make your community a better community, make your family a better family. How do we take what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, get past the ego, get past the selfishness, Get past the me, and talk about we. My dear brothers and sisters, it is about time that you and I, from the pulpit, from the minbar, from the stage, whatever platform it may be, whatever opportunity that you and I have to express ourselves in the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, it is about time that we make the service to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam not something that is done out of convenience, but something that is done out of conviction. That we make the service of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam in the remembrance, though we may fall short. And we will, no matter what, we will fall short. We make it a commitment because it is our honor. Not a show of who can do better, but a commitment of serving together. Now you may ask, what does this look like? How do we do this? You do it in the best way that you can. You do it in the best way that you can. It could be monetarily. You donate to a cause. It could be your presence just by attending. Excellent. It could be reciting something. It could be cooking something. It could be by making something. It could be helping somebody that is at the service of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. A program is being put together. Okay, how can I help? How can I contribute? This idea of waiting for the Imam is never a passive one. Has never been a passive one. You look and you see all of the atrocities that are taking place around the world, and we wonder, we say, oh my goodness, what's taking place all over the world? My dear brothers and sisters, and forgive me for saying this, what's taking place all over the world? Yes. Some of the greatest atrocities. They've been taking place for over 1,000 years. And they will continue to take place. That's the state of humanity. Now, what do you do with the oppression and the injustice and the atrocities that you see in your own life? Now, you may say, well, how does that compare? I'll tell you how it compares. One is in your control, one is not in your control. That's how it compares. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not put you and me to solve the issues of the world. He put you and I in front of issues to see how do we react to them. So in your capacity, if there's something across the world that you can solve and you can contribute to, great, do what you can, each in their own capacity. But there are things at home, in our homes, in our families that we need to take care of. A father needs to be a father. A mother needs to be a mother. And when you are a part of a community, be a part of it. You and I'm not just talking about Allentown, my dear brothers and sisters, God bless you all here. I'm talking about the Shia Muslim community across the United States. You and we're part of a community. It's not Allentown by itself, Dearborn, Michigan by itself, Orlando, Florida by itself, Los Angeles, California by itself. No, we're part of a community. And it's a growing community. The lovers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Perhaps several 100,000 here in the United States, perhaps over 1 million Shia Muslims here in the United States of America. And guess what? They also connect with the community that's greater outside of the United States. And I'm not just talking about our neighbors to the north in Canada. I'm talking about in the Middle East, in the subcontinent, across the world. We are connected. So how are you and I expected to strengthen the connections across the world if here at home we're not strong? In my recent visit to the holy city of Najaf and speaking to some of the scholars, alhamdulillah, at the Main Street Foundation, we have the opportunity to visit the scholars very often. And we take groups, some alhamdulillah, some of the youth of the community here in Allentown. Alhamdulillah, we had the honor of them joining us in previous visits to the holy city of Najaf during the Najaf retreat. In one of the sessions, I remember one of the ayatullahs, one of the mujtahideen, said something that really inspired the group. Of the many things. One of the things he said, when one of the youth asked them, how do you see us in the West? You know what he said? He said, you are the ambassadors of Ahlul Bayt. You are our ambassadors of soft power. You represent us. Now, in speaking to some of the youth, okay, that sounds nice, excellent, beautiful, wow, wonderful, amazing. Now, how do you take that? I took some of the youth and I'm like, how do you take that forward? What responsibility do you have? I'll tell you. Very simple. You and I, in the societies that we live in, it's not enough for us to be insular to one another and be comfortable. You and I, as directed by Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, كُونُوا دُعَاةً لَنَا بِغَيْرِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. You want to know how to wait? Listen to Imam al-Sadiq. كُونُوا دُعَاةً لَنَا بِغَيْرِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. Be a call unto us without your tongue. What does that mean? Be a representative, an ambassador of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. كُونُوا زَيْنًا لَنَا وَلَا تَكُونُوا شَيْنًا عَلَيْنَا. Look at the words of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Even though we can't hear it, when we read it, we hear the voice of the Imam. Be an adornment to us. What's that mean? Make us look good. Are we making Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam look good in our societies? The Imams don't expect us, and I want to make this clear. SubhanAllah, we have the opportunity of being in a church. It's a blessing, by the way. I want you all to realize this. Wow, mashallah, your beautiful masjid is being constructed. The blessing of being able to provide our services here in a church, this is something that you won't see in other places in the world. This is a blessing. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam tells us, you don't need to go and convert people. That's not the mandate of Ahlul Bayt. The mandate of Ahlul Bayt, though other schools of thought may have different ways of doing things, right? MashaAllah. They may have different approaches. They want to convert, proselytize. Proselytizing is not part of the mandate of Ahlul Bayt. Be a call unto us. If you want to call people to the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, be a follower of Ahlul Bayt. The Imam in another narration, he says to his followers, be the best amongst people, so that when they see you, they say, who is he? Who is she? They're the best amongst us. So that when they say, yes, he is Ja'fari, she is Ja'fari, mashallah, people are impressed, so that you make the Imam look good. Now I want to ask you, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, was he just talking about his followers at that time in the 8th century during the decline of the Umayyads and the rise of the Abbasids? Or was it Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, just like his great-grandfather Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, when he says you are to treat people as one of two kinds, either your brother in faith or your equal in humanity? Was that just for Malik al-Ashtar? Was that just for Malik al-Ashtar in the 7th century? No. It was for us today. It was for us today, and see, the mandate of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam is eternally clear. We are to be, with the blessings that we have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, we are to treat people as one of two kinds. To each other, we need to be as family. You need to take care of each other as family. To people that are not Muslim, you need to take care of each other as equals. And then when we want to impress upon the world, what do we represent? What do we believe in? It's your akhlaq. Because it all goes back with Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, from Imam Ali to Imam al-Mahdi al-Muntadhar ajjalallahu ta'ala faraj al-sharif. It all goes back to the message of Rasulullah. إِنَّمَا جِئْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Why was I sent? Why was Muhammad, the best of God's creation, خَيْرُ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ? Why was he sent? To perfect the best of it. This is how it comes full circle. You want to know how we should wait, my dear brothers and sisters? It's by taking the basic mandate, the foundational mandate of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and living a life of commitment and conviction. It's not complicated. We need to take care of each other. Simply. We need to take care of each other. We need to love each other. We need to care for each other. We need to be there for each other. Because if we don't care for each other, if we don't love each other, then nobody's going to love us. Nobody's going to care for us. Nobody's going to be there for us. Everybody's too busy with what they have. We are here for each other. And inshallah, as we commit, not out of convenience, but out of conviction, the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we look deeply within ourselves and we say, I'm going to make today a better day than it was yesterday. And when I fall, it's okay. I will bring myself back up. I will help my brother. I will help my sister. I will be there for those in my community. Whether they call my name or they don't, I will ask. Because that's what waiting looks like. It's active. It's not passive. Inshallah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us, Ya Allah, of those who truly wait for the Imam without excuse. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who have the tawfiq, the good fortune, reciting dua al-ahd, not a mere ritual, but as a pledge, as an oath of allegiance to the man that is alive and well today, that will bring forth the era of justice, peace, and equality for all. That we ask, Ya Allah, allow us to recite dua al-ahd. As promised by Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, whoever recites dua al-ahd for 40 mornings straight after Fajr prayer, they will be guaranteed to be a supporter of Imam al-Mahdi. Ya Allah, we ask you to allow us to recite this, not just with our tongues, but with our hearts. We ask you, Ya Allah, allow us to see the face of our Imam. Not the way that Shimr la'natullahi alayhi saw the face of his Imam. We ask you, Ya Allah, to allow us to see the face of our Imam as a Habib ibn Mudahar would see the face of his Imam. We ask you, Ya Allah, to bring peace into the hearts of the believers, to bring strength and unity amongst the believers, to allow us to see with clarity our mandate. Allow us to see the blessings that we have in the society that we are in today, and allow us to be an extension of the mercy that was brought forth into the world through your holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi. We ask you, Ya Allah, we ask you, Ya Allah, by the right that is with Sahab al-Asri wa Zaman Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajuh al-Sharif, we ask you, Ya Allah, by his right, to allow us to be of his supporters and to see his light as the bright sun that he is, to cast away the clouds and allow us to see that sunny day. Ya Allah, Haq Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة والتسليم على نبينا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. And before I get off the podium, my dear brothers and sisters, in remembrance, I mentioned the giants that we stand upon their shoulders for all of your marhumin. All of your marhumin. MashaAllah, there are a lot of marhumin in this audience. Your parents, your grandparents, your uncles, your aunts, people that have passed away recently, long ago. Let's remember that. And let's ask Sahab al-Asr wa Zaman in this beautiful night to remember. Let's recite Surah Al-Fatiha for them and the blessings of salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah. Ar-Rahman. Maliki. Kana'abdu wa Sirat al-Mustaqim. Sirat al-Ladin. مأجورين إن شاء الله.
Jalal. Jalal, my respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, on behalf of the entire management committee, on behalf of all of us, we wish you a happy Valentine's Day. It's a joke. Brothers and sisters, they're not like us. That's not why we're here. All right? On this day, where they all celebrate love, which we do as well, let's remember the one that embodies true hope and devotion, and that's our 12th Imam, Imam Mahdi. After all, no heart beats stronger than the one awaiting than ours, awaiting our beloved's arrival. So again, let me do this properly this time. On behalf of all of us on the management committee, we wish each of you and your respective families a Bushara Mubarak. Brothers and sisters, for the last 8 years, I've been privileged to know many members in participating with the events and being part of the Mainstay Foundation. Tonight, we are honored to have guests, besides Jalal, other members of the Mainstay Foundation here. Sister Lana Hazimi, Sister Hala Hazimi, and Brother Ali Debaja, all from Detroit. They're here for an event tomorrow that's being hosted in New Jersey. I believe it's the Shia Sports event that's being held. I think there's an opening ceremony tomorrow at Estana Zara. I'm not sure if anybody from here is participating in that, but I believe it's a basketball tournament, what I've heard. So again, welcome. Please, on behalf of the entire community, let's welcome them together with a loud salawat. Brothers and sisters, just a few announcements, as I warned everybody last time that tonight may go a little bit longer. There's some important topics. We choose events like this because we do have a large audience on these events. And this information over the next few years is going to be important to share and be connected. A lot of you, when we have our meetings, are not in attendance, are not coming to these things. So we do what we can to articulate and share this information with you at these events, and you'll see more of that coming up. A couple of announcements. We've had issues these last several months with our website. I've heard many people call me, text me, that when you go to the website, if you typed in the name and you click the link in Google or whatever browser you're using, it was taking you to some other page. As well, oftentimes if you go to our mobile app, it wasn't working. So when we built this, when I put this together many years ago, the idea was there's a lot of work that goes on, like I said, that you guys don't see. We had a website, we had an email, and we didn't have an app. Right? How do you communicate with everyone? So we built something that was basically one source of truth, and that is our website. And our website feeds everything else. It feeds the mobile app. So when the mobile app kind of has that circle that spins, it's not the mobile app that's broken or not working. That has been solved. That's had 100% uptime. If you can see the green screen come up, it's working. If you see the circle, that means the website is broken. And what's happened is we've been under attack by malware. Okay, as much as we spend time trying to find it and remove it, myself and my son Faizan, it was really embedded. It was pretty bad. There was about 3,000 lines of code written in various places on the website. We had to hire somebody. Thank God, this Bangladeshi fellow that we found took care of us for $100. It was cheap, because it's pretty expensive to spend the time and the hours to fix it. And we've had it all removed. We've also put what we call a fence, security fence around it, using simple terms here, that now protects us from those types of malware attacks. So that was the bad news. That's been fixed. Secondly, this is a good problem that we had. The amount of usage that our website gets and the app gets was higher than what was expected when we initially bought the virtual servers and everything to do this. That's a good problem. That means people are using it, there's a high demand on it, and because of that, our website was crashing often, meaning that there were too many people going on at the same time crashing it. So we doubled the size of the servers, we doubled or actually quadrupled the size of the memory, so this should not happen. We've tested it. If it happens again, it's a good problem because people are using it. That's what we want. Right, so a couple things. The mobile app is now working. You should not see it crash. If it does crash, like I said, we have enough things that are monitoring it now, and we've hired some people to help us at a low cost to help manage and monitor this. So that should not happen. We're going to be using it more and more. There are things that we're enhancing, some new projects that I mentioned, Sadka app, and all these things you'll start seeing come out in the next few months. Those of you who have an Android phone, Apple's okay. But those of you who have an Android phone, right now I'm told you can't find the mobile app. So we've had to reinstall it on Android. It is in process. We're just waiting for the final approval. And as soon as that goes through, you'll have to delete the version of the app you currently have on Android. You will need to install. We'll put that in the email when it's ready. It should be in the next couple of days. I think the final is in one more step in the approval and should be available in the next few days. But we'll make the announcement via email. You'll have to download the app again and it'll be working. But that's where you'll find information about our programs. The most current information will be on there. Also, I've noticed a couple of weeks, some of you pointed out there are errors in the messages that we're sending out via email. Right now, that is a manual process, okay? We are transitioning to using a lot of advanced technology. We're starting to use AI. We're starting to use more innovation. And you'll see some videos, example here, of some of the things that we have planned for the new mosque. When we talk about innovation, right? Helps us not having to rely on people. So the future is now you're going to have one place where we upload information, which is our calendar, which feeds the mobile app, which then will feed an email that's generated by AI. And then it gets pushed out. So a couple of stumbles this past week. Some things didn't get caught by myself before I send it out. The AI generated things and I didn't review. I thought it looked good and we sent it out. So those things, hopefully, as we clean it up and train the AI, will take care of themselves. So again, we're trying to do things to automate, to save us time from doing this work manually. Keep a lookout on some of those things. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that we would talk about what's coming up. That the time was now. Everything has a time and place. We're about 2 years away. Yesterday, I met in a lengthy hour-and-a-half session with the pastor and the church administration. And I'm hoping I signed what was the last contract, which was for the next 2 years. All right? So we are anticipating, I'm praying, please everybody join me in this, that it only is 2 more years. All right, so you're going to start seeing, I understand that the materials for the exterior, the marble, I think we mentioned, should be shipping or should be arriving soon. You're going to start seeing now the fiber boards going up. So hopefully this summer, we should hopefully see this building start to close up, hopefully before, and start coming together. Again, 2 years is what we're, again, projecting. Nothing has changed from the beginning. We said 26, 27. So we're still in that timeline. Again, if something ever changes, that goes longer, it'll come from here, right? That said, we have to start getting ready. Now is the time. With that 2-year mark in our view, there are things we have to start doing today. December 4th, I remember that day, it was the day after my birthday, 2021, and I'm trying to break away from this prison. We talked, showed you what it looked like. We talked about how much it would cost. And I reminded you what I mentioned last week, in case you were not here. We saw the approval. Motion was seconded. How do you respect? Make sure that everybody knew what we have to do. Being less than 3 years, we must be involved, not being asked to fund this, but we're asking them to take care of this. Because each of us doesn't have responsibility to maintain this new mosque. And I mentioned at that meeting, we did projection, we did background, how we did this projection. Right? We don't know for sure. We can only get a projection because what we did was based on data, based on data that we have. I'll share with that data. Things have changed, and if the things got more expensive, we've all experienced many things: electricity, gas, things that gone up, and continues to be actually rate of increase. This study for the last 5 years, when I last presented it, anywhere from 2 to 3% a year. make sure that the numbers are right. That's what we see increases in the electricity utility cost year on year. So we updated the numbers based off that data. There's no new guide, the last time. But it gives the cost of utility. Also gives the cost. She can, in the presentation, please. This was what we use. It's an organization called Smart Church Solutions. They provide a lot of guidance on how to run religious facilities. Okay, even though it's mentioned church, it's really religious facilities is what we're looking at: synagogues, mosques, temples, whatnot. And this was done in 2020. In here, we got estimates for how, and you see the projections. We got costs for staffing, right? How much does it cost to hire staff for running a facility? And as well, we've gotten some data from the people here at the church, because they have, as you see, extensive staff. They had, at one point, they had 8 people they had on staff here. They're down to 3 now because of cost, and they're down to 3. And then they outsource things like the cleaning of the bathrooms because they have a full-time school here. So they outsource much of that. So there was some information here, and it's hard to read, but you can look this up online. You can go to Smart Church Solutions and you can find the guide. But they had what the cost of custodial staff would be, right? Something that we are going to need at that new center. We didn't have it before. We used to hire private cleaners to clean, which were also not that cheap. But we're going to need full-time staff to maintain this new building, okay? Get out of this model that we can do it ourselves. We're not good at this. We don't want to do it. You can, some of you can examine what happens when all of you leave here at night. It's just us, those of us that are having to stand behind this podium, those that are helping back there, that have to do all this as well, okay? And we do have volunteers that help out, but sometimes, Brother Muhammad there's laughing. He's been great helping us lately, so loud salawat for him, by the way. He really helps us out a lot. Everybody wants to go home. Okay, so if we have people that we are hiring, they take care of this, right, for us. This also gave us costs for how much it costs for utilities, and we validated this because we looked at what the costs were running the previous mosque against these numbers, and they were accurate. What we were paying monthly for utilities, gas, electric, was reflected with what was here based on the size of the building. So again, it's very hard to read this. But it gives you the size of the building, 30,000 square feet, 60,000 square feet, all the way up to 200,000 square feet. And it gives the cost by dollar for each square foot. So we validated this, and based on our new building size, which is around 45 to 47,000 square feet, we came up with the projections for what the new center would cost, right? And that's what we presented to you a few years ago when we did the presentation of the new center. We showed you what we thought those costs would be, calculating custodial costs, calculating the estimated costs for future utilities and running the center. Now, there are things in the new center that we didn't have to worry about before. We now have an elevator. We didn't have that before. You gotta have a maintained elevator, you gotta have to get it certified, to get it inspected, okay? We had a fire system at the mosque. It was never active, to tell you that, okay? We had to pay for those things. We didn't have a subscription to that, okay? So the new center, much bigger, will have state-of-the-art fire suppressant systems. We'll have to keep that active. Alarms, so when the fire does go off, it only beeped inside. Didn't notify anybody. We have to have the monitoring for that. So all these things we didn't have before, we're going to have to make sure we have, all right? So again, looking at that, what is the numbers? Okay, so I have the numbers from last time next to the numbers. Why is this blurry, guys? This is odd. Can you check the cable? All right. Can most of you see this? I know it's a little blurry. We'll find a way of putting it in a safe place where you guys can go pull it up. But when we met few years ago, we had projected that the new cost for running the center will be around $144,500 a year. We showed what we thought the utilities would cost. We showed you what paid staffing would cost. We showed you what the landscaping, I know some of you took pictures with your phones. I saw you and I know who you are, so you can fact check me. Or if you want to be fact check me, I can refer to the people who took the pictures. What landscaping would cost, what our insurance costs were projected to be. There's a new line I added here called capital reserve, which I'll explain to you in a minute. And then other expenses. What are other expenses? Our accounting fees. Okay, we don't use Magendo accountants. These are real accountants and auditors that review all our work. So they do cost a bit more money than usual. We have our legal fees where we need them. And then miscellaneous expenses, which is a broader bucket. What are miscellaneous expenses? This is where I mentioned things like the elevator maintenance. We have other things at this new center that will require additional maintenance and things that we need to get taken care of. Things like snow removal, which are unpredictable. Right now, this year, I have no stress. Usually when it snows, you can ask Zora, I freak out. Not because I got to go out and clean the snow, it's because the bill that comes to clean it. Something like what you're seeing right now, these little 1-inch, 2-inch, would cost us $1,200 to $2,000 to clean up the mosque. To ice, remove the ice, move that little bit of snow, but it was really the salt. Salt's expensive, right? So, no stress right now. But when we get back to the mosque, when you have an 8-inch storm or a 12-inch storm, you're looking at $3,000 to $5,000 to remove that snow. Okay, so it's not cheap. So that's part of that, what that miscellaneous, or that 40,000 is. Now, I said the numbers have changed. Right? So where we projected initially $38,000 for utilities, we're now projecting based on this annual increase. And I took the higher number to be conservative. It's probably around 2.5%. I took the higher number of 3.7 because that was what they're saying was the increase from last year to this year. All right. So again, these will adjust and we'll find out what they really are once we move in. As well, we have more efficient equipment compared to what we had before. Right? This is all newer items, more high-end efficiency. So again, this is projection. We're trying to be conservative and be safe. I don't want to go low and then it ends up being significantly higher. We may be higher here and hopefully it's lower. All right. Paid staffing, $60,000. So today, how do we figure it out? We need 1.5 FTEs, full-time equivalents. Okay, that's one person working full-time, one person working part-time. Right? At $20 an hour, which is the rate, I think McDonald's pays about that much now for a job there, $15, $20 an hour. To get cleaners is not cheap. They do charge quite a bit. Based off of that, it is $60,000 a year for that thing. Now, I'm going to show you something. I talked about innovation. All right? We're looking for ways to cut this thing down. And I'll show you in a minute what that is. Right? But these are the costs. Landscaping and maintenance, again, there's more things. We didn't factor in the glass domes that are on top. We need to clean those, wash those, power wash, whatever we need to do. Someone has to go up there and do that. So initially we thought it was going to be about $7,500, but now factoring some other things that are outside as well. We have like these water features on the mosque. We're saying estimate $15,000. Someone to come, clean that, maintain it for us. All right, insurance costs. We used to previously pay for the other mosque about $7,000 a year for insurance. We're estimating that's going to double. It might be more, maybe less, I don't know, but right now we're saying that we did before. Okay? And then there's this new line, I call it capital reserve. Capital reserve, the recommendation, what that is money you save aside for an emergency or unaccounted for expense. So for example, if the air conditioning breaks, those units at the top, we replaced them once, they're $20,000 each. I think there's 7 of them now on top of that building to heat and cool the place. Okay. The recommendation for capital reserve for a church or religious facility is 1 year. So whatever your projected annual expenses, you should have at least 1 year in reserve. All right? That's how we're operating now. If you remember, I said this before, we have 1 year reserve based on our old expenses. We do have that. We need it if we're in emergency. We did. So we don't touch it. We leave it there. So we're estimating for the next 5 years, if our annual cost is expected to be around $200,000 a year to $215,000 that is showing here, we should be saving for the next 5 years $40,000 to get us to that $200,000. Also, I'm going to get to in a minute. We need to get there before we open the mosque. We need to get to that $200,000. Okay. We should have 1 year's of capital reserve already put aside before we even get in there. I can tell you right now, running this mosque before, when we close the books at the end of the year, and we only have $1,000 left in our general fund, and bills come in January, and the Wajim, most people wait till the deadline on April 30th to give it to us. It's some sleepless nights, how you pay the bills, because the bills don't stop coming, right? I was going to put it up here tonight, but I'm not going to do it. We're celebrating today. But the last time we got any significant donations was on the 8th night of Muharram. We spent a significant amount of money between that point in time on programs, inviting speakers, taking care of all these programs downstairs. We put out a lot of money. We did not even get, I would say, close to even $2,000 in donations since the 8th night, even though we asked for it. Okay, so having that backup is a lot easier, right? So again, most of you don't know this, right? And maybe it's time that this has to be shared with you, what it is. If we don't come and ask unless we have to ask. But I'm cautioning you right now, and I said it last time, doesn't matter if it's me standing behind here, up here, this team, doesn't matter who. Someone's got to figure this out, okay? And you'll now, I'm going to talk to you about what that plan is, how we're going to do it. Everyone's afraid. What's my lawajim going to be? It's fair. We have a responsibility, though, brothers and sisters. When we give something to somebody or an organization like this, in your mindset, and you're tied to the transaction, there's an expectation that you want something back in return. Brothers and sisters, the day we were born, we are given something, and that's a responsibility, right? What's the first thing that's done when we're born by our fathers or our grandfathers? In our ear, okay? That's the day we accept that responsibility. It's given to us. We're born with it. Spread in our ear, right? To him, to the Imams, all the way up to what our responsibilities today, for who we're here to commemorate, to celebrate his birth, our 12th Imam. And it doesn't end when we die. We have to pass that on. So when our children are born, we whisper, or we read and recite that azan in that ear. It's a responsibility. We're emotionally connected to everything that we're supposed to do here. If you view it as a transaction, yes, it's painful for you to let go of that check, right? Or to complain about how much I have to contribute. When you're emotionally attached to what we're born, and it's what's ingrained to us the day we're born, and that responsibility to our Imam, it's not emotion, brothers and sisters. We have emotion many times a year when we come to commemorate many various events. Okay, if you're emotionally connected, giving is simple. The time you spend in sacrifice is simple. I get asked all the time, I mean, how do you do this? You have a busy career or whatnot. Brothers and sisters, if you're emotionally attached, it doesn't matter. You don't sleep. You make it happen. All right? This is a time all of us now need to come together. We can hit this goal. Now, we have, like I've said, some of this money is already saved aside. Okay, this year when we present the report, you'll see how much that is. It's not much. It's not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, but we've tried to grow and save a little bit. All right, and COVID actually helped us. Not having to spend money on cleaners and chai every week for 52, imagine 52 weeks of making chai every Thursday. It's about $50. It's like almost $3,000. Okay, we didn't have to do that for 2 years. Saved. Okay, and I'll show you, we'll discuss this more at that meeting, but tonight I wanted to show you how we're going to pay for this. Okay, so we mentioned last time, we all know our membership, our responsibility to the organization that we belong to, not the organization, this community. We are part of this community. Said last time, Al-Ahad is not a building, it's a people. It is us, it is you, it is I, it's all of us. Okay, you're part of this community, you need to contribute to this community. All right, so we do have our membership, and that's what the money we use to pay our bills. So what we collect today comes out to around $40,000 a year, all goes to pay our fixed expenses, the rent for this church, our insurance cost, our auditor cost, some other miscellaneous costs that come up that we need to pay for is covered in that $40,000. It does not pay for these programs, okay? It does not pay for the tea that we make tonight. It doesn't pay for the food that we sometimes eat that requires sponsorship. Okay, it's not much, right? And what we're asking for, before it was around $30 a month. So that was $350 a year. It was $350, about just under $30 a month. When we met in 2021, I mentioned that we would probably look at having at $600 a year. Okay, and based on the 120 members, now membership, it hasn't dropped. We've actually grown as a community, but the number of people that are actually paying their membership has gone down. There are a few of us that are in arrears, and we're going to be sending you a note too. We just did an audit of our membership. Who hasn't paid, who's behind, we got to catch people up. And a couple of you have come and you said, no problem. Have told us, no problem. We'll make sure we're current, okay? What we're projecting moving forward in the future, now looking at the increased cost, is maybe that needs to be double what it is now, $700 a year, okay? If you take the average person or the average salary around $85,000, that's 2% of your income. That's not even 2% of you, it's not even 1% of your income, okay? So again, look at it. 1 penny for every dollar you make is not a lot for those of you who are making the average. Many of us make way above the average or higher than the average. Okay, so our 1% is a little different than others, but we took the lower number, the 85%, of the 85,000 as the median, whatever average income in this area, and we said 1%. So actually, that's 850. We're saying 700 a year. Let's look at that. Okay, now is that enough to pay for everything? No. That only will give us, based on the membership that we have, what we had at that point in time, 120 members, only $84,000 a year. And I said our total expenses are $215,000. So how do you make up the difference? Okay, next line. One of the things that most jamaats or most communities do is they run off an ijazah, they have ijazah for Sami Imam. And they get to use 100% of their Sami Imam to run their centers. We've never done that. We're going to need to do that. Okay? I'm not going to talk about it today. I've already reached out. There's some things that we need to do, which we'll talk about later, but we have pretty much, it's just a formality. The letter's already drafted. I just have to submit the letter, and then we'll have that. Okay? But that's a discussion for another day. Okay, but the Sami Imam is available to us, if it's granted to us, to use that money. So if you don't know how Qums works, if someone gives $100, 50 is set for, Sami Sadat, that is Imam's money, that we don't touch, that we turn over, and it gets sent to the right places. It's Sami Sadat, we can't touch that. The Sami Imam portion is the other 50% that we are entitled to, and it can be used only for purposes of running the center and advancing the cause of our religion. Okay, it cannot be used for picnics, niyazes, chai, TV screens, ping pong tables. It cannot be used for that. And right now, there is an SOP drafted that I've drafted because that money has got to be controlled a certain way. Okay, so there's a whole process. We're not going to get into tonight's discussion. These are future discussions of how that money is used. We have right now, it was authorized, about 20,000 of Sami Imam that we haven't touched it, and we're not going to touch it. It was for the use of the new mosque, not to the building of the new mosque, the use of the new mosque. Okay, so we have not touched that, and the team knows that there's a procedure. If for some reason we had to tap into that, there's a whole process we have internally, how we do the accounting for that and validate that the use is being used for the right thing. Okay, if you go to a school board meeting, I urge you all to go. You can go you just get to watch. Watch how they run that. Okay, they have endowments and all these different things, how the money gets released. That's how I envision the future being. If we go to the system of using the Sami Imam, there has to be some checks and balances with the separate body, like a board of governors or board of directors, whatnot, that the management would have to ask for the release of the money. And the release, you can't say no. If it's for an authorized cause, you can't say no. Okay, or if the cause meets the criteria, they can't say no. But we have to have a process where that money's really scrutinize how it's being used. Okay, the topic again for the future. All right? So if we assume that the average savings for approximately, we're more than 100 families here, we're closer to 140, 150 families now. Okay? But if we say 100 families are able to save $5,000 a year, this is their disposable income that is, Qums is mandated on, or supposed to pay your khums on that savings. If you had 100 families saving $5,000 and they pay the khums on that $5,000, the Senate Imam portion that would come in, and they're giving it to the center to use for the reasons I gave you, that would generate about $50,000 of revenue or income that we can use towards our expenses. Okay? Next is rental income. I didn't talk about it last time. I just put $5,000 there because that's what we were making there before. Brothers and sisters, this new mosque, there's a section of that mosque, I call it the money maker. Okay? It's that banquet hall. Right? Those nice tables that you saw in the video where we're going to get to sit and have our niyazes and meals. That's the money maker. There's a mosque in New Jersey, I'll pull up the details for you at a future meeting. When they have weddings, they charge $70 per person that comes to that center for that wedding. So if you have 100 people coming to that wedding, that's $7,000. And that doesn't count the food. Food's extra. All right? So imagine if we had a venue, we have a venue, and we undercut that by $20 and charge $50 a person. But more people come to us, plus our center is going to be beautiful. It's nice. I'm not saying the other centers, but this is a much nicer, larger center compared to the other one. But we charge $50. And weddings have 100 people, say average. It's $5,000 for each wedding. And we have one every month. How much is that? $60,000. I just put here 50. I put 25 to 50. Takes time to build. You got to run it like a business, right? You have to have people marketing. You have to put brochures out there. You got to advertise. People just come knocking on our door. You got to advertise that. Okay. And we have the plan. Put the plan together already. I have everything documented of how we would do that. We have the office, people working in office, people calling. We have some great marketers in this community that can help out or volunteer their time. Maybe even give them a commission if they get people to come do weddings at our center. Who knows? Some incentive, right? But that is a moneymaker. We can generate revenue. So now you have another, say 25, let's say 50,000. The numbers are all built there below. The next line item is called endowment. Brothers and sisters, what is our legacy that we're leaving behind? We're all going. What's that legacy? I'm not going to talk about it today. There is a plan that we have. I'm not going to discuss it today. It's sensitive. How we'll achieve the endowment. But if we had a $5 million endowment, money that sits, all these schools, especially Ivy League schools, sit on billions of dollars of endowment. That's why they're able to give grant money and free tuition to people going to the school. If we had endowment and the bottom number is $5 million, and you just draw 3% of that every year, that's $150,000 you can put towards your expenses for the center. But we have to build that up. How do we build that up, and how do we build it up fast? There is a plan. Some of you may not like that plan, but when it's time, we will share it. I'm vetting it out with a few scholars to make sure that there's nothing un-Islamic that we're doing, but there's an idea of how we can achieve that number very quickly. Okay? But that's going to be necessary. The next line I have there, if you can read it, is the Islamic school. One of the intentions is to build an Islamic, or establish an Islamic school. We have 18 classrooms, beautiful library. We have the facilities. We don't have the kids, that's why you all need to work on making more kids, because we need kids have to go to the school, all right? But there's a plan for that too, not having kids, how we're going to draw people who have kids so that they can go to the school. So there is another plan. Again, I can't go into all the details tonight, I'm just giving you the highlights that there is a vision. There is a plan. We're not operating blind. We haven't been operating blind. We never have been operating blind. There is a plan. Now is the time to share that with you. To calm you down that we can do this. This can be easily achieved, and then some. All right? And then we have monthly commitments. Again, there are many of us who are blessed. Okay? We make more than that average $85,000. Okay, some of us make 100, some of us make 150, some of us make 200, and some of us even make more than that. Okay? Not saying give it all to the center. Have your cars, have your houses, take your vacations, right? But remember I told you, day one, when that was recited in your ear, it was a responsibility, right? It's not to the people who are standing behind the podium. That responsibility is to the establishment. It's to the cause. It's to the purpose that we live and the purpose that we exist until we die and how we serve our Imam of our time. All right? So those of us that can contribute more, be it $100 a month, $200 a month, $500 a month, whatever that is, okay? You have it, think about giving it, okay? And the reason why I'm highlighting this right now is that's what we're going to need today, starting now. Membership is due now. It's still $350. Okay, so those of you that can give double this year, what we'll do if you give more than the $350, we're going to put that money aside. We're going to have a separate account that we're tracking, and I'm going to start putting a bar, like a little what they call the thermometer. Day one, when we move in 2027, we need to have and hit that $200,000 mark. It's very achievable, brothers and sisters. There's enough of us here that can do that. For those of you who want to double up on your lawajim this year, your membership, what I'm going to ask is to contribute monthly. $50 a month, $100 a month, $200 a month, whatever you can do on a monthly basis outside of your membership. Your membership subscription fee, whatever you do is one thing, but we're going to have a form and make the pledge to do monthly automated contributions from your account. Okay, we have got to hit that number. Okay. Otherwise, I said last time, if we don't do this, it's going to be not my failure or whoever's standing here's failure. It's going to be our collective failure because we didn't prepare ourselves. I'm telling you today, I told you 2 years ago, 2021, 3 years ago, no, 4 years ago, wow. I'm telling you now, in the next 2 years, we have to build this up. Okay, so again, I took a lot of your time. I thought it was important to share this with you. Just one thing I wanted to show you I thought was really cool, if you can put the video up. The other question is not how we're going to pay for it. How are we going to keep it clean? Right? That's the other big thing. We have many, many, many more bathrooms in this center than we ever had before. So again, when we're sitting here planning, thinking of things, and this is where I'm showing you this for a reason, because I want you guys, I want to spark ideas in your head because you can just start sharing your ideas. There's not a monopoly in ideas. It's not all me, other people on the team. There's an entire community who have ideas of how we're going to be able to do things. All right? So if you can please put this up. This is the future. It is no longer a person cleaning bathrooms. It's a robot. And it's pretty thorough. You program it, you teach it the path that you want it to take, all right? And it works 40 hours a week. It doesn't complain. It doesn't ask, where's my lagu? Where's my chai? It doesn't ask for any of these things, right? It just works 40 hours a week. Okay? And the cost of something like this is $5.40 an hour. Okay? You're not going to find anybody, and if you could, they're no longer here because ICE is taking them away to work for that lower wage. All right? This robot will live in a closet. It'll plug itself, charge itself, or, I'm sorry, unplug itself, leave the closet, go out, it'll open doors, it'll push buttons in the elevator, which we'll have at the mosque, it'll go to the floor, it knows where it goes to, it knows where all the bathrooms are, okay, and it'll clean when we're not there, okay? This is what I mean by innovation, okay? This is the future. You hear a lot about AI, you hear about robots, you're seeing it in action, and we're starting to put those things in place, all right? At a much lower cost than having to find a person to do it, okay? I think you're not hearing the sound. The lady that goes over this is robots are taking our crappy jobs. They are, okay? Because no one wants to do this. Nobody wants to do this, right? So this is our future. You can turn this off. And if you have more questions, I can send you the link. You can look at this yourself. But today, this is not available to people like us. Again, we're 2 years out. Today, they're focused on office buildings and commercial properties. Hopefully, by the time the mosque opens, the center opens in 2 years, this is widely available for everybody. But this is something we're seriously looking at because right there cuts off maybe half a full-time person or resource, and it's much cheaper, $5.50 or 40 cents, whatever it was per hour, is what the cost is. So again, brothers and sisters, I heard Hajj Allah say earlier that this is everybody needs to be part of this community. I'm paraphrasing. a little bit, right? This is all of us, brothers and sisters. If you have ideas, share them, okay? There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Okay? I'm going to be talking about it more and more. You'll be seeing me more give presentations at events when we have more people here. Everybody has a place, everybody has a role, and each of us have a responsibility, okay? Reflect on that, brothers and sisters. Again, Shai Mubarak, and let's close with a, actually before we close, downstairs again tonight, we have just a few munchies, goodies, whatever. Please join. I remember I told you last time, it's not about what we're having. It's really about getting to talk to each other, camaraderie. Again, when you're downstairs, welcome our guests that are visiting us from Detroit. And with that, let's close. Again, remembering all our marhumeen with the Surah Fatiha.
By Muhammad wale Muhammad salawat.
بر خوشنودی امام زمانہ بآواز بلند تر صلوات.
حال غم سنائیں جب امام آئیں گے, زخم دل دکھائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے, محفل جمائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے, بام و در سجائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے, جب ہم منائیں گے, جشن ہم منائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے, جشن ہم منائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے. زخم ہے ابھی تازہ مکہ اور مدینہ کے, شام و خوف کر بولا ہم بلا نہیں سکتے, اسپی بچائی دم غیر سے نہیں پہنچے, جن نے دکھ اٹھائے ہیں ہم نے کلمہ گویوں سے ایک ایک جھکائیں گے, ایک ایک
جھکائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے,
جشن ہم منائیں گے جب امام
آئیں گے,
جشن ہم
منائیں گے
جب
امام آئیں گے.
شک شک ہی جن کو اللہ کے عدل اور عدالت پر, منصب نبوت پر, سیدہ کی عصمت پر, مرتضی کی احمد سے متصل نیابت پر, جن کو شک بالا پر باروے کی غیبت پر, سبھی مار کھائیں گے سبھی مار کھائیں گے
جب امام آئیں گے,
جشن ہم
منائیں گے जब इमाम आएंगे
जश्न
मनाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे
अल्लाह चल चुके आ गए तो क्या होगा क्या है अपनी तैयारी पेश हम करेंगे क्या सिर्फ चाहते बना दो कुल यही है सरमाया हम दोनों के सोला ओ मांग करत नोहा हम यही सुनाएंगे हम यही सुनाएंगे
जब इमाम आएंगे
जश्न
मनाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे
जश्न
मनाएंगे जब इमाम आएंगे मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलवात मोहम्मद सल्ले अला मोहम्मद वाले
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wishing you all a very Khushali Mubarak. Inshallah, we're looking forward to reciting some of these qasidas together. I know there has been one qasida that has been very famous today, so we're going to recite it in the middle of our presentation today, and we're hoping the whole community joins us, please. Afzalus Salat Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. आ रही है आप चल रही है ये खबर सज रहे हैं रास्ते तमाम आप पर दुरूद और सलाम तू है उसका हाथ जो खुदा का हाथ है तेरे हाथ बस यही सदा है सुबह शाम आप पर सलाम अफजल सलात
I heard this news at the back of the room over there today. There's a gentleman there who's dressed up like a groom today. So I see, I don't even know what to call him, yeah, an uncle, because he looks like a brother.
He's our buddy, yes.
So today, on his 50th wedding anniversary, let us sing a loud salawat ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah, looking forward to reciting this few verses of this qasida together with everyone. Aale gham zulaye, jab زخم دل دکھائے جب امام آئیں گے محفلیں جمائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے بام در سجائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے
سب ہے مکہ اور مدینہ شام کو ہم بلا نہیں سکتے عرض کی پڑھائی غیب سے نہیں پہنچے جن
جب امام آئیں گے جشن ہم منائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے نام پر صحابہ کے کام کافروں جیسے نام پر صحابہ کے کام فاسقوں جیسے نام پر صحابہ کے کام منکروں جیسے نام پر صحابہ کے کام مشرکوں جیسے سب ہی منہ چھڑائیں سب ہی منہ چھڑائیں جب امام آئیں گے جشن ہم منائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے of Imam Ali alayhi salam جشن ہم منائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے نفس بیچ کر اپنا کس سکون سے سویا اس کا ایک شب سونا کائنات نے دیکھا جب تلک نہ تکیا مرضی الہی کا اور نظر میسر ہو بستر رسول خدا مرتضیٰ کو بستر مرتضیٰ کو بستر پر نیند ہی نہیں آتی جشن ہم منائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے جس کا پکڑے کیسے امتی ہو تم شرم بھی نہیں آتی جشن ہم منائیں گے جب امام آئیں وہ رسول کا بستر گھر تو بلا دیتا
قطرہ
گر نہ تو بلا دیتا گر نہ تو بلا دیتا شیخ تیرے حصے میں شیخ تیرے حصے میں تیر بھی نہیں آتی جشن ہم منائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے جشن ہم منائیں گے جب امام آئیں گے افضل الصلاۃ والسلام علیک یا رسول اللہ محمد وآل محمد صلوات صلو علی محمد یا رسول اللہ صلوات اللہ علیکم یا نبی صلوات اللہ علیکم یا محمد نام پیارا عرش پر حق نے پکارا سچ پیغمبر ہے ہمارا یا اللہ صلوات اللہ علیکم یا نبی سلام علیکم یا علی سلام علیکم حسنین و فاطمہ یا نور اللہ صلوات اللہ علیکم افضل الصلاۃ والسلام علیکم محمد وآل محمد صلو علی محمد ومحمد وآل محمد صلوات
السلام علیکم یا رسول اللہ محمد المصطفیٰ